About healthcare.
All right. Well, the XLV is up 1.5%, 1.25%. So it just shows you that people are headed to the
Heading to
defensive
defense.
names, and the XBI is down what 1.7%. Let's see here.
Yeah, the XBI does not like higher rates.
Yeah, 1.4. So yeah, it's a rate play, it's a risk play. You see the Halion, which I like during bad times. Um, as a defensive name, HLN, doing great, and that's what it's meant to do, is kind of be the counterbalance to some of the other more risky names. But that said, you're also seeing oddly some smaller cap biotech names not going down, or specialty pharma names or whatever. And I'll tell you in my experience what that is when you see a alphabet down a lot and you don't see these what you might consider crappy companies, like things that you might be short or things that you not going down. Remember, when you run for the doors, you're selling things that you can sell. So you sell the things that you can move if you're a large institution that's trying to manage the day to day. If you're not a super long term, but if you're like trading at the margin, you're not going to sell some thematic idea that you have on a small cap name. You're going to say, well, look, do we need to own $8 billion of Alphabet, or is seven okay? Now, I own Alphabet. I shouldn't have used that as the example, but that's what I think is going on a day like today. So you see like large, what you would consider good names, facing more pressure than some other crappy names. Now, I don't want to say junky names and then go straight into
A
MANE.
junky name.
So I had said on the show yesterday that I was starting to do work on a company called Veradermics. The symbol is MANE. They're working on an oral minoxidil for hair loss, and um, I'm fairly skeptical, and not just because of the real estate here. I was skeptical because of what they're trying to do. Now, I ran it by two hedge fund managers yesterday, and both said kind of the same thing, that I think you're right, but I'm going to short it the day they get approval. Now that's going to be a while from now. It's a $4 billion market cap name, and I said, okay, well that's fine. Let's talk about this. So I'm going to tell you what we talked to you. You mentioned, Ben, what Claude can do. I'll tell you what. I put some LLMs together to work on this. So this is a little bit of my opinion. It's not advice, but it's also what ChatGPT says, or actually Gemini. First, the dose is too high. They're testing. So this is a drug. Minoxidil is a topical drug. It was originally studied as an oral drug, and it is approved as an oral drug, but not for hair loss. It's approved for a cardiovascular, thing. So, um, but there's a black box warning on it because of side effects at the high level. Side effects that can include death. So, so like not too much
Kind of a
hair
big
growth.
one.
Yeah. And so you can get oral minoxidil from Hims like companies for hair loss, for growing hair, at very low doses. So right now, those are usually the oral off-label doses are about 0.25 milligrams to 2.5 milligrams. Veradermics is testing 8.5 milligrams once or twice daily, so up to 17 milligrams a day. 17 milligrams a day isn't a microdose. It's within the FDA approved guidance for the severe hypertension oral drug that's already approved. So they try to say that the extended release formulation that they use flattens the peak level, and that the peak level is what causes the side effects. They're going to have to prove that. That's going to be very difficult. I think that they're going to have to prove that toxicity is driven by the rapid spikes rather than the cumulative exposure. That's a tough one. The second is that so far they've shown 6-month data. 6-month data is great. I mean, it's better than 3-month data. But if you're talking about a cardiac risk, you're going to want to see probably 2 years worth of data, at least 1 year. So they're doing those studies. I'm not saying that they're trying to hide from that. They're going to do them. But until they have that data, I think that the jury's out. And remember, all you need is one adverse event and it's dead. What I mean by that
Right.
is for a cancer drug, the FDA gives you a lot of leeway. Like if the side effects are really bad, if some people die, but you're extending life, that's great. They'll approve a drug like that.
They'll
There's
take the
no
risk. Right.
margin. Yeah, there's no margin for risk for a cosmetic situation where there are already drugs approved for it. So um, the minoxidil forces your blood to relax. Your body's hardwire to um, to counteract any drop in blood pressure. So where then it starts with fluid retention, and that's what causes these side effects. Well, um, I'm not so sure that they're going to avoid that over a longer period of time, so a year or two. So we'll see. The last is if they get approval, which again, these two hedge fund managers were like, yeah, they probably will get approval in this FDA, this very permissive FDA. Um, I can't imagine the FDA is going to remove the black box warning for the active ingredient that they have on a drug that's on the market for a different drug. In other words, two oral drugs, different indications, different companies, one but the same active ingredient, one with a black box warning, one without, will cause confusion among the doctors. And so they'll probably, in my opinion, and in Gemini's opinion, that the FDA would at best require a REMS, which is where they follow up on this. A REMS would if you're a doctor and even if you're treating hair loss, are you going to run this risk? What's your insurance company going to say when you start running this risk? So I think if they get approved, it probably won't have nearly the market that they think it will. But if you look at it now, I think that they have some hurdles. Um,
How
I guess
long? How long do you think it would take for them to, for the approval to come through? Is this something that the FDA would push through in the next 6 months?
no, 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 no. They haven't submitted it yet. They still have they haven't done phase 3 trials. They've done one phase 2, 3 trial. They may have done another, but I'm not sure. But phase 2, 3 says that, well, we're going to roll into an extension that will then be used as a phase 3. Um, Sometimes the FDA accepts that, sometimes they don't. And so we'll see.
Okay.
But they're probably another couple years away from filing. So that's the risk of a short, is that you have time against you and any good news. I actually take the other side of that and say, "Mm, you have time, you have expense, you have other products coming onto the market for alopecia. Um, I don't know, at a 4 billion market value, I think it's fairly valued, but it's up today. So so take that with a grain of salt. But it's one that
So
I'm doing work on.
you're looking to possibly fade this.
What did you say? I lost you.
I said it sounds like you're looking to fade this thing on rips.
I shorted a little bit so that it's on my radar now.
So it's on your screen.
It's on
Okay.
my screen. And yeah, I'm gonna keep fading this just because um, I won't get to a full position until after an approval, if there's an approval. So I'll never get to, hey, hi, I'm David Maris. If you like what you just heard, we've tracked every single pick we make on the show, every ticker, every thesis, every entry price, over 1,100 picks and counting. We put it together in a free report with our top 10 performers, the reasoning behind each one, and a preview of our full dashboard. If you want access, the link is in the description.